Put
a towel over it. Put a towel.
Well, it actually does lower down if I can get it actually turned on. No, my son's preschool has started calling me Jessie, which is fine, except for that is my nickname, and they've never really called me Jessica. And I'm like, this is weird. You would think that they would be a little bit more professional with it, but.
Well, this is a great introduction because we're now live on Facebook and we're joined. I'm Sylvie, running the social media here at Invoice to Go. I'm joined by Nat, who is the Director of Brand Marketing. And we're also joined by our group member, Jessie Espiritu, as we've just said, because we were asking Jess how she'd like us to call her during this. And we're really excited to have you join us as well, because we kind of took your business as the main inspiration for putting this 8-step marketing plan together and what we wanted to share. And basically, what we're going to do today is Nat and I have been working on a marketing plan for Jess's business after she commented on a call out that we did, asking people how they are finding getting new clients and customers right now. And we really want to share the way that we would put together a simple 8-step marketing plan that you can apply for your business, but we're using Jess's business as the example. So for each point that we go through, for each step, you will also see how we've applied this to Jess's business. And hopefully this will give a lot of clarity for when you're doing it for your own business. So welcome everyone. Welcome Jess. It's so nice to meet you and speak to you. Jess actually hasn't seen this at all. So she will be able to ask questions throughout. And if you have any questions, if you're watching this, please feel free to leave a comment and we'll be happy to answer those as well.
Really quickly, you guys. So a lot of you guys commented on the post where we were asking for businesses that wanted to be in the marketing plan. Or our example for marketing plan. We picked Jess because honestly, I have always wanted to learn how to sing and I've been a terrible singer. And so we thought, hey, we'll go with Jess's business. It's a beautiful, beautiful business that we'd be happy to help.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, I'm going to share my screen now so we can get up our presentation.
Jess, if you heard me saying, you'd probably be horrified.
No, no. I mean, I have taught all skill levels and all ages at this point, so it would be really, really difficult to surprise me. And like one of my philosophies is that everyone can sing. Like that's part of my teaching, philosophy. So,
She says until I hire her to be my singing coach.
Right, well, let's get started. So this is the 8-step marketing plan. So firstly, as I mentioned, if you've got any questions, then please leave us a comment. Jess, you can just speak up throughout and see if you've got anything that you'd like to find out more on each point. But a little bit about us. I'm Sylvie. I'm a digital marketer, social media specialist by trade. I'm a business owner, dog mom, as you can see in the background, so hopefully he'll leave us alone. And I'm originally from the UK, but I'm now living in Sydney, Australia. And I'm also joined by Nat. Do you want to?
Yeah, hey, you guys see me sometimes in the Facebook Lives, and you guys hear both of us on our podcast, Female Founders Network podcast, where we interview all of you. But yeah, I run the brand marketing team at Invoice to Go, which is the SaaS app, the invoicing and billing app that sponsors this whole group and pays for everything that we do. And I'm a mom of almost 3. I'm very pregnant with my 3rd child, and I try to do ceramics sometimes. I poorly try to sing, as I mentioned earlier, until even my kids tell me to please be quiet. And yeah, I'm American, grew up in Ohio, and I currently live in Sydney, Australia.
Yeah, thanks, Nat. And today we kind of wanted to run through a marketing plan. So Nat, why should every business have a marketing plan?
Okay, so if you want to understand how to grow your business, and if you truly want to reach the people who are most likely to buy from you, convert them into your customers, and then retain them as your customers. So a lot of good business is being able to repeat offer services and, you know, upsell the clients that you already have or the customers that you already have. So to understand how to do that, you really need to create a holistic and comprehensive marketing plan. And this plan that we're about to present to you guys, you know, a lot of you guys are marketing consultants, right? Like we've got a lot of marketing consultants in this group. You probably have all kinds of tips and tricks to add to this. So what we're going to present to you now is more for a small business like Jess's that really needs like the basics. You guys need a really good structure on which to build. So that's what we've built out for Jess here. And that's what you'll see in this presentation.
Yeah. If marketing planning were a meme, I think this is definitely relatable.
Yeah, you guys, this used to be my love life, but now it's our marketing plan.
Jess,
So.
do you feel like this is how you've felt about marketing so far?
100%, yes. Yeah.
It can be hard, and there's so many things out there that you kind of don't know what to do, and you're like, oh, I started a Twitter, what is it even doing for me, you know, all that stuff. So the confusion is real.
I've posted like 10 photos to my Insta, and I'm like, and I keep getting people added that are like following me, but I'm like, okay, now what? And what do I post as a singing teacher? I don't want to post videos of me singing because that's not what I do, you know. That's
right.
It's very confusing.
Yeah, that's why we definitely need to kind of put a full plan together, and there's these 8 steps that Nat will run you through now of what we need to take to do that.
Yeah, so if you guys have never put a marketing plan together for your business, and this is a business that brings in 20 grand a year, 50 grand a year, 100 grand a year, does not matter. If you have not made a single dollar yet, you know, you can go through these 8 steps. So the first one is get the facts. So you need to really be honest with yourself. You know, you'll see exactly what the facts are in the future. I'm not even going to reveal them now, but really be honest with yourself when you get the facts. Don't bullshit yourself. It's really easy to bullshit yourself when you really want to do something. Sometimes you'll get the facts, and when you're really honest, you're like, oh, maybe I should change my business, or maybe I should change my offer a little bit. And that's important, because if you want to make money, you've got to face those facts. The second is assess your situation. So you truly need to assess your situation. That is your market, et cetera, and we'll show you how to do that in a second. 3 is decide on your objectives. As a business, you need to have really clear objectives. If you can't set these out, you're never going to reach them. You're never going to really get anywhere. So we've got to set our objectives in order to grow. Number 4 is break your objectives down into goals. So this takes these big, lofty objectives that you have, and it breaks them down into biteable bits that you're like, okay, I can wrap my hands around that. I know how to achieve that. Number 5 is to list your tactics. So under each goal, you're going to have several little steps. So you list makers out there, people who like tools like Asana or Monday or whatever it is, you guys are going to love this stuff. People who love to make lists love listing out their tactics. 6 is allocating your budget. I cannot stress how important this step is. You need to look at your year, be honest with yourself about how much you can spend on this. We'll give you some guidelines for this, so it's not a crazy thing. And then you need to decide how to break down that budget throughout the year. And then 7 is set your tracking. So we want to know all the news, the good news, the bad news, and the news in between. We can't just make a campaign that we love to get new customers and then assume that it worked, or not follow up and look at those metrics and see exactly how it worked. So we need to face the news when we've got bad news on tracking, but that's how we get better, but we definitely need to set that tracking up in the first place so that we're successful in the end. And then when you're all done with this stuff, step 8 is to write your summary. So I really want you to look back, condense everything into an executive summary for yourself. So if you were going into a board of directors, this is what you would deliver, because you are your own board of directors. You are the badass bitch looking at this, for lack of a better term, and you are going to say, okay, does this make sense to me? Can I get this done? You know, is this something that I would pitch? Is this something that I'm proud of?
Yeah. Those are the 8 steps. So every single one of them is really important. And as Nat mentioned, we're going to go through them in much more detail and show you how to do exactly each one. But before that, meet Jessica of Espiritu Voice Studio.
Hello. Tell us about you.
She's a vocal teacher, an opera performer, world traveler, HS faculty, wife, and boy mom. And we picked all of this up from your website.
That's pretty accurate.
And
Anything you'd like to add, Jess, about yourself before we get into?
I mean, I'm also a college professor.
Nice.
And yes, I do make them call me Professor Espiritu. I'm trying to think what else. Sorry, don't mind the random person in the background. No, I mean, that's me, although I haven't been a world traveler, in about 7 months. So,
big shame.
How old's your son, Jess?
He is 4, and I'm also a cat mom. I have a very fat cat named Hoffman, and he is named after my favorite opera, not after Dustin Hoffman or any other Hoffman you can think of. He's named after Le Conte des Hoffmann, which The Tales of Hoffman is the English title. And it's based off of the stories of E.T.A. Hoffmann, who was a German author. I know lots of random stuff. I don't know if that's interesting to know about me.
I mean, if that's how you named your cat, like how much thought did you put into naming your kid? Because wow,
so he is named Alexander, and he is, I mean, so it was around the time when like Hamilton got huge, so that was part of the inspiration. But my husband and I have actually realized that name followed us for years in our relationship. We have a random duck that we named Alexander. There was a story, like a fairy tale that my husband wrote, and the character's name, and it was Alexander. So it was like a name that followed us, and we didn't even realize it till after we had him and named him that. And they were like, "Oh my God, this was supposed to be his name."
Oh.
So you've got a lovely family by the sounds of things, and this is your business, Espiritu Voice Studio, where you offer singing and voice coaching, and you mainly teach ages 11 and up, and can also offer remote lessons via Zoom. What do you prefer to do? Do you prefer in person, or is Zoom going well for you this year?
I of course very much miss the ease of in-person lessons and hearing the fullness of sound, but I've been using an audio solution lately. I started out with one audio solution and I switched to another because it was a simpler interface and it was just easier to use and less expensive. So since I've switched to that, so I use Zoom for my video, and then I use something called Clean Feed for the audio. And since I've been using that, I can actually hear like the vibrato of a student in their room and things. And so it's been much better for the last like 3 to 4 months. It's been much better. And while I miss being in person, I'm definitely going to keep the remote option available. Plus, I have a student now that I'm teaching that lives in Shanghai. So I can teach her. And then I have a student that lives in New York, in Manhattan. And I can teach her now, like whenever, as long as the scheduling lines up correctly, which for the Shanghai lessons, since we had that time change, that's been a bit difficult.
Yeah, that.
No, I just want to get this straight, just for everyone, because we have a lot of women in our group who have like side businesses with day jobs. So you honestly are doing it all. So you're a professor, you're a high school teacher, you've got this consulting business, and you're a mom.
Well, so the high school teacher thing is actually, so I teach within the high schools, but they like come out of choir class to do voice lessons with me. So I like actually don't work for the ISD. I actually work for the students still. I just have the opportunity to like pull them from class, and it's like one way I get my students. One part of my studio comes from the high schools that I work at.
I just want to make it clear that you've got 4 jobs. Like,
I mean.
Like,
yeah,
drop the F-bomb.
Yeah, I kind of do a lot.
You do so much, and I think like that's so relatable, because it's like, especially when you have, a lot of people do have the privilege of going out on their own and just having their freelance business or having their entrepreneurial business, but there are a lot of people out there that are doing a ton of stuff like you are. And so I think, like, especially when it comes to creating a marketing plan, it's like, who's got time for that?
Yeah.
So hopefully this simple formula helps.
Yeah, and this is what you actually said to us, Jess, when we first did the call out. I pretty much solely rely on word of mouth. Ever since the pandemic, I've been completely stuck at gaining new clients and losing current ones too. And this is why we really wanted to put this together for you specifically, because we found that most people are relying on word of mouth, and that is a brilliant way of actually getting new clients, but it's also not something that you can scale as easily, and there's a way that we have to kind of systemize that, or have some sort of predictability about how you can get new clients. So this marketing plan focuses on digital marketing mainly, to try and help you get more clients through other channels, so that you're not just solely relying on this one. So here we go, we'll dive in. And step one is get the facts, and that is going to take us through step one.
All right, get the facts. So let's go through these facts that you need to get. So you need to take a hard look at your company's financials. It's okay if you don't have any financials yet because you're just starting a business. But if you have been in business for even 6 months, I want you to pull all of the money you've made and all of the money you've spent and be really honest with yourself, because a lot of us bullshit ourselves, right? We're like, oh, I'm making this much. And it's like a very natural thing because, you want to feel good. But really take a hard look at your company's financials. Are you whittling your services down to the point where you're working $15 an hour and you should be $100 an hour consultant? Like, be honest with yourself. The next thing you need to do is list all, and Jess will do this with your business in just a second. The next thing that you need to do is list all of the services that you offer. Okay. So every service that you have the capability to offer, list it out. Even if it's not something that you want to do right now, just get it out there so that you've got like a full range of everything that you're capable of. List your direct competitors. So because the world has gone Zoom, you've got a massive pool of competitors, because someone who lives down the street from you could hire someone in Shanghai, like reverse, for their voice lessons if they wanted to, right? And if they're taking voice lessons online, they're looking at everything out there. They're not just looking at, someone who's in their neighborhood. So list your direct competitors. Obviously this can get overwhelming, but list people who you kind of like, get out there, get on Google, see who is kind of in your space and feels a lot like you, feels like they offer the same types of services, and list them out and get familiar with them. List your geographical boundaries. This is a lot more important for like service businesses whereby you have to be, it's like an in-person service. Like if you're doing like custom decor painting, you can only do that like within a certain geographical range, right? With you, you probably used to do a lot of in-person lessons, and now you're doing virtual lessons. So really your geographical boundaries have just been blown out the window. Yeah. But if you do have geographical boundaries, list those out. List the type of customers you want to sell your services to. Try to get as specific as possible. Like, who do you really want to reach? Who do you really think that you can reach and you want to go after? Who's most profitable for you? And then list the current trends in your field. You already talked about something that helps you. I've already forgotten the name of the technology, but it helps you really understand the pitches in their voice and that kind of stuff. So what are all the current trends in your field, whether you're up on them or not?
Sorry about that. I just skipped accent. But
we have left your financials out of this. That is your personal business. But I think that you obviously will go through with a fine-tooth comb and kind of analyze your own financials and get on the right foot. The services that you offer that we saw online were 30, 45, or 60-minute lessons. And it seemed pretty straightforward. Is there something else that we're missing there?
Other things so one other thing I'm offering on my website, although it's limited, is I've been doing diction tracks. I just haven't had time to add more of them. So for anybody who's learning like a foreign language piece, other things I could offer that I'm not currently, I could do like audition prep for like specific things, and I could word it that way. I could say like, musical audition prep, 3 sessions over a 2-week period. I don't know. I guess I could just word it more specifically, I guess, instead of just voice lesson.
I love where you're going with this, because you're starting to think like a marketer already just by like thinking about this. So basically these things that you're talking about are still online lessons, but you're thinking about how you can package it differently. So like you could have a package whereby you're helping people get ready for their university, like theater auditions, for instance. You could be, I'm live on Facebook. Shut the door. Love you. Sorry, guys. That was the father of my child. So basically you could package them different ways and you could present them different ways in your digital space. But when it comes down to it, those are all online lessons.
Yeah.
All right. So here is the, I don't want you to take this as bad news. You have a lot of competitors.
With my field, with my field, there is no requirement to be able to do my job.
Okay.
Any Joe Schmo can say they teach voice lessons.
Okay.
Which I don't mean that in a bad way. If anybody's listening and watching this who has less training than me, I don't mean that in a bad way, but that is just the reality. Like I once had a mom who was like, well, I was in choir for 3 years, so I'm going to teach my daughter voice lessons. And I was like, okay, you do that.
I hear you.
So.
Yeah. And here's the thing, what you're talking about right now is really your point of differentiation, right? So you've got all of these competitors in your field. You've got a lot in Dallas even, but then you've got a lot like across North American time zones. But these people probably, because of your level of education and experience, can't compete if you really use that as a point of differentiation in order to set yourself apart from them, right? But you've got to be aware of who's out there.
Yeah.
Because maybe some of these people who don't have your training or qualifications are marketing themselves really well. I bet that's probably the case, even though they actually don't have your credentials. So that's something to be aware of,
Yeah.
So the types of customers you can, sell your services to, obviously you've got schools. So you can do programs with high school, middle schools, stuff like that. You can do the private coaching. Private coaching is, all of those lessons that we've talked about, but the kind of customer base for this is massive. You could do retirement homes. Right now COVID's weird. Makes it weird, but there's a lot of like retirement homes out there looking for activities for seniors and things like that. And, as the baby boomers age, services for people in that generation just keep going up because, they need help doing a lot of things, as we get older, we all do. And you could do services or programs with different types of youth groups. Maybe there's like a 4-H group. Does that still exist in America? Stuff like that, where you could do like summer camps. You could do like some sort of program within an organization that already exists, etc. So the next thing to think about is customer personas. That's in the next slide. And then current trends in your field. We put virtual lessons because we don't know all of the tech and tools that go into that, but you obviously do, and you're obviously the expert in that. So let's go into personas next. So, okay. So
scoot a little closer here.
When you think about customer personas, right? And we took a shot in the dark based on who we thought you might want to go after, but you should really spend time with this and do this afterwards, right? So I want you guys, and it seems like a silly thing because you're basically making up people like an author, but I want you to think about all of your customers and distill them into 3 or 4 customer personas that you want to go after. And the way that you do this is think about your high school students, right? So we called our high school student Jada. She's 16, she's a sophomore, she's an aspiring actress. Her parents want to encourage extracurricular activities. Obviously, she loves things like TikTok and Instagram. Is TikTok still legal in the US? I'm sorry, I don't know.
I don't know if you can still get it, but I think you can still use it if you have it already.
Whatever's going to replace TikTok, I don't know. I don't want to get into that political discussion, but she loves stuff like that. Like she loves showing off. She loves singing online with her friends and stuff like that. So she's convinced her parents that she can to give her, after school lessons or whatever it is. And so she's going to be looking for a music teacher that she wants to sign up with. Then you've got Sarah. She's looking on behalf of her son. She's trying to encourage him to get more after school activities. She sees that he's got this gift. She wants to improve his chances of winning a scholarship. She knows that her son wants to go into performing arts. So she's looking on behalf of her son for someone to hire. Then we've got Brad. He is a hobby actor in a local theater. He wants to get better, but it's really like a passion of his. It's a hobby. And he's, maybe he's experimenting with TikTok or something like that, but it's really just like with his kids or whatever. He's looking for a teacher to help him improve his Italian pronunciation. And he uses things like Google to research for services and people that he wants to hire. Then we have people like Umut. So he is, or is it Umut? How do I pronounce that?
Umut.
Umut. He is a community manager for a senior living conglomerate. So he is the person who directs all of the activities that they do. We just chose an organization, but he basically uses LinkedIn and Facebook, and he's looking for engaging activities for his community that he can offer, and it's part of their program, and it helps them attract more customers and clients and things like that. He's looking at things like Google reviews. That's what he likes to look into. So when you guys are creating these, the best way to do it is to just ask your customers that you already have, the people that you've already sold to, or like people that you know. Like you guys know a lot of people. Reach out and ask these questions, like get as granular as you want to, but you really want to look at their online behavior or where you could reach them, the reasons that they hire who they hire and how they make their hiring decisions or shopping decisions, and really anything else about them that could help you understand where they're coming from or how to serve and reach them better.
Mm-hmm. We'll make this available for everyone to see afterwards in case you wanted to read the fine print and what we've written for each person too. So now that we've looked and got the facts, we're going to assess the situation. So this is looking at stuff like, what is your market like? Population, demographics, income levels. Is it crowded with competitors? Do we need to pivot slightly so that we can stand out, having a unique selling point or a USP, as we call it in marketing? How we can differentiate services from competition. So that's all about the unique value proposition, as I just mentioned. And then looking at stuff like prices, are they making sense? Are they competitive in the market, or are they too high, or are they too low? It's really important to actually look at yourself and see how you're comparing with what else is out there. And then also looking at things like what has sold well in the past, what is going well, what's not going so well. For example, are you struggling to book certain services but doing really well with others? In which case, do we need to kind of reassess those? And then what are the threats and opportunities in the market? So these are external things. A lot of the stuff is actually looking internally, but we also need to look at what else is going on in the market that could hurt the business or actually provide an opportunity for us to get more customers and reach a different demographic. So, Jessica's business. What is your market like? So we looked at Dallas, population of 1.3 million. The average annual salary is just over $70,000 a year. And it's a thriving, family-friendly city with a great theatre scene, fairly high wages, and a cost of living is only about 1% above the national average. So when you're doing your marketing plan for your geographical area, these are the kind of things that you want to look at. Salary, what's going on, how can we make sure that the business is competitive with the people that we're trying to market to. And then we looked, is the market crowded with competitors? Yes, there are quite a few competitors in Dallas, but when we looked at Dallas traffic, it's known to be among the worst in the country with inefficient infrastructure and quite a long commute. That could be something that puts people off going from one competitor to the next. So having actually a look at that and really thinking granular about the kind of ways that we can get an edge on competitors.
If you're selling those in-person lessons and you know that a lot of people in your neighborhood are going to be higher income and kind of have this kind of extra income to pursue hobbies and things like that, you can think, or have extra after school activities for their kids, you can use that to your advantage, because you understand that because of the infrastructure in your city, they're not likely to go to someone that's further away, right? So that's where like looking at all of this granular stuff really helps you understand exactly what your market is. So you could, in that instance, market yourself as your neighborhood's expert music teacher. Starts to give you the competitive edge.
Yeah. We also looked at how you differentiated from your competitors, and the fact that you offer the German, French, and Italian diction training and language related services is a unique proposition for you. So it's good to know that you have that and that you can really use that as a tool. It would be interesting to know how many of those services you actually sell, and whether that is a unique proposition that you'd want to promote even more. But just the fact that you also specialize in voice and singing, whereas many music teachers offered music as a whole, including voice, but you just specialize in voice. That's another way that you're differentiated from your competitors. You also had a really good website for online booking compared to some others. So that's another way that you were differentiated, which is a great thing. When we looked at your prices compared to others, we found that you're around or slightly under the market average. And we actually found that quite a lot of competitors offer a 10-class pass, which was a bulk way of purchasing lessons with a small discount for getting the upfront fee.
Can I just pop in here, you guys?
Yeah.
Don't undersell yourselves. The number one thing women do, and I've hired a lot of women, I've hired a lot of guys, I can tell you this from experience, we don't, as women, ask for enough money. Make sure that your prices are fair. You don't have a discount you have to give a discount to be competitive. You can, if you think that it would give you a campaign edge, but please make sure you're not underselling yourself. I can't stress this enough for you and every single woman watching this right now.
And that's one thing. So there's like a goal point that I've been trying to get to. And when I very first started, and this was about 11 years ago, the number was actually lower then. So it's gone up, of course, because that was a long time ago. But there was like a number I wanted to get to per hour, my like hourly rate, and I knew I wanted to get there. But I didn't want to start out that year with that because it was my first year. And so I've been adding every year, or every 2 years, I do a little price increase. And actually this December is time for me to get it there. And then I'll actually be at the number that I've been wanting to be at for the last about 3 years.
Nice.
But I've been doing it slowly.
You are so qualified. Back yourself. I love your plan to get where you want to go. Back yourself. And honestly, once you start using these qualifications that you have as a point of differentiation, it will be easier and easier for you to get to that number that you know you deserve.
Definitely. So part 5 of this was to look at historically how well services have sold. So one of the things that you mentioned is that the number of customers that you've had have gone down due to COVID restrictions, which could be, the result of social distancing or maybe a cut in budgets. So that's kind of looking at it right now, but in the past and in the future, thinking of how, which kind of lesson plan or which kind of package, as you mentioned, you could do the audition prep thing, how these would actually do for the future and making sure that we're going after the right ones. And then as your threats and opportunities, obviously the pandemic is quite a big threat right now, but it's also presented an opportunity with more people accepting online lessons as a kind of reasonable way of receiving teaching. It's kind of fast-tracked going virtual over what could have been like a 10-year period, and it's kind of condensed it into like 7 months. So although there is that threat, we can see some opportunities there for you. A crowded local market, again, there's an opportunity for you to differentiate yourself. And then a lack of presence on your social platforms. We really feel that you've got an opportunity there to bolster your business with some more social presence. So after considering these points, you need to write down your unique value proposition. And this is a clear statement that describes the benefit of your offer, how you solve your customers' needs, and what distinguishes you from the competition. So for the Espiritu Voice Studio's unique value proposition, we said, Espiritu Voice Studio provides classical voice training from a world-trained operatic performer, teacher, and specialist. Do you feel like this sums it up, or is there something else that you would add later?
The only thing the only thing I would want to, I don't even know how you would say this. Maybe you guys could say better, is I hate to say specifically classical voice training, because while I am classically trained and I have a lot of knowledge, and that is one of my big focus areas, most of my students don't come to me for classical voice training. They come to me for musical theater or pop. Okay. And while, you know, my opera loving heart wishes that everybody came to me wanting to sing opera arias, I know they don't. And I don't want people to be afraid to come and study with me because they think they're going to get an opera singer.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
I think it's interesting because when I hear classical voice training, I think like world class. Like, I don't think of actual opera first. I think of like, she has been trained to a top-notch kind of level. And if I go to her for voice training, it's going to be like the best I can get, you know? So
okay.
I think it's interesting, because what we need to say here is, because of your training, you are completely set apart from your competition, right? Like, because you're a world-class operatic performer, which is a big, big freaking deal. You know, whatever they come to you for.
You make it sound much fancier than I often feel.
No, it is true. Like, and that's the thing, is like, a lot of time, like, this is what I hear all the time. It's like, we don't back ourselves. Like, this is a big deal. Like, the stuff you've done is a big deal. Your training is a big deal. So however we word this unique value proposition, I think we need to get two points across. Number one, you have been trained with the best in the business. Like, you have that you are not someone who just studied for 3 years and, you know, choir, like high school choir. So you bring those credentials to the table. And number two, the training that they're going to get, regardless of what they come to you for, is going to be world-class. So those are the two things. And again, distill it into one sentence, make it easy, make it the thing that if you, go ahead.
Well, and I like the way you phrase it. I guess when I see the word classical, I automatically, because that's what one of the titles I have for myself is, that I am a classically trained singer. And what that generally means is like basically opera. And so I think that's where it is for me. But like, I don't know, maybe the people watching can like say, oh no, that's not at all what that means to me. Maybe they think exactly what, if that's what they think what you just said, then we can leave it fine. So, you know,
well, this is something I think, you guys, that you have to be comfortable with. So whatever your unique value proposition is, word it in a way that you're comfortable with it, word it in a way that your customers can understand it, and go with it. And make sure those 2 points are crystal clear.
And it might be that you just want to really differentiate the types of singing that you can teach. So you're a classically trained performer and teacher, but you offer training in pop, musical theatre, and opera, and have those as 3 separate kind of lesson packs, and really differentiate between the 3 of them. And that's all part of your unique value proposition, is that you can do all of those. And then you're specifically speaking to the customers that want each one of those different types of training. Yeah. So Nat is going to take us through step 3, which is decide on your objectives.
Decide on your objectives. Okay, let's move through these objectives. So first of all, you can't get here unless you do the steps that we just did, right? So we've taken a hard look at ourselves. We've looked at our competition. Now that we've got all the information, right, we can start to make decisions about what our objectives are. So what do we want to accomplish in the next year, right? We're looking, hey, Jess, did we lose you?
No, I'm still here. Sorry, I got a notification on my phone. I'm trying to make it go away.
You're fine. So what do we want to accomplish over the next year? Maybe you want to introduce a new service. Like Jess, you started to get into some stuff where you talking about packages and things like that where you can market yourself differently. Cool, totally cool. So increase sales of an existing service, increase business with a specific type of target customer. Maybe you know that like a certain type of customer is more likely to stick with you, buy bigger packages, stay for the long term, etc. Like once you've gotten the facts and kind of assess that, like decide what you want to do there. Maybe you want to upsell or bundle your services. This is what you're just talking about. Maybe you want to create new long-term relationships with your most desirable customers, or maybe you want to raise your rates and you want to get that money because you know what you should be making. So all of these things, we need to decide what your objectives are. So we decided these were your objectives for the purposes of this exercise, but they can completely change. And honestly, like we would change it to a raise your rates kind of thing automatically already from what you've told us. So the three that we're going to illustrate here are to increase your customer base in 2021. So increase the number of students under your care, expand your virtual coaching for a more sustainable model. So we don't know when COVID is going to end. We might have a vaccine, we might not, we don't know. But whether it's
a vaccine, but no one will get it.
But no one will get it. Who knows? Again, we'll stay out of that political conversation, but you know, regardless of where we go in the future as a world, as far as pandemics and safety, having a virtual coaching model is so valuable for you because like you said, you are, you know, teaching people in Shanghai or teaching people in New York, like your customer base becomes so much bigger when you can teach well virtually. And then number 3 is to keep a steady stream of income up throughout the year. So you want people to be coming back steadily. You know, you might have months that are a little high and a little low, but you shouldn't have months where there are nothing. And, you know, hopefully we'll have more customers than we can handle going forward.
Yeah. So step 4 is to break the objectives down into goals. And so for each objective that we write down the goals that we need to hit that objective. And this is how it looks. So objective 1 was increased customer base in 2021. So to do this, we've split this into 2 goals. Goal 1 was to increase your online presence to make it easier for new customers to find your services. And goal 2 was to reconnect with former students to reestablish relationships and potentially resume training. Objective 2 was to expand virtual coaching for a sustainable model. And this was split into 2 goals. Ensuring you have the best virtual platform for coaching, audit review Zoom and other platforms, as you've already mentioned that you've done this already. And goal 4 is to set up scheduling for time zones so you can attract customers from different cities and states and countries by the sounds of things. And objective 3 is to keep a steady stream of income throughout the year. So these 2 goals are to establish multi-lesson packages for easy purchase from parents and gift givers, and also to establish a small marketing budget so that you can last the full year for continuous customer acquisition. Okay, Nat, do you want to take us through step 5?
Sorry guys, I muted myself for a second. So list the tactics needed to accomplish each goal. So this is where you start getting creative, right? So these are mini marketing projects. So these are your little things that you're going to do to try to reach each of these goals that you've set out for yourself. Next slide. Thank you. Okay, so tactic 1, if we want to increase that online presence, right? We want to make it as easy as possible for people to find you. You need to identify the best social channels. If you guys are allowed to use TikTok would actually be amazing for you. And here is why, and I don't know why this is where this is going to go, but assuming that you guys get to keep it, number 1, there's a lot of singing and dancing on TikTok. Tons. So you have the opportunity to do things like not only like have yourself doing things, but have your students, like coaching your students through a little skit on their own TikTok channels and, you know, having them spread the word for you. So maybe you've got like a popular high school student that you coach and you put together a TikTok thing for her. She tags you in it or like mentions you, and all of a sudden everyone in the entire high school has seen it, and like 3 high schools over, right? So like it's a way to get really really fast reach organically by identifying these best social channels and then thinking about how you want to use them. The second thing to do is, we would say you 100% need a robust YouTube channel. So tips and tricks, content, like you could have little 20-second videos that you produce. You could use really simple platforms to create these guys, and just having a steady stream with like maybe your logo, in intro and outro cards that you could pay somebody on, you know, Upwork or something like Fiverr to do. And then have a steady stream, put a content calendar together for yourself, and release these like twice a month to try to start to get that going for yourself. You can also embed these into websites and things like that.
We were even thinking you could do like singing warm-ups and cool downs for vocal cords, you know, just like really things that people would search for on YouTube as tips, and then they can discover you, and they could be anywhere in the world, but then you can also then use your YouTube to promote booking a lesson with you as well. So
Yeah.
it's thinking about what people are looking for and ways that you can add value in bite-sized amounts.
That is a really good point. So like when you're putting together any of these strategies, make sure that you're doing your research and you're thinking like, okay, use your tools out there. There are a lot of free ones to tell you like what the most popular you know, keywords are for your genre, whatever your genre may be. Like for you, it might be, you know, find voice teacher online, or find virtual singing lessons or something like that, or find virtual acting voice lessons. I'm not sure, but like look up all of those, find your keywords, and those are applicable to things like YouTube and Google, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, which brings us to number 3. So use Google Ads to be discoverable for the keywords that you want. So voice coach, virtual lessons, et cetera, et cetera. So once you've done that research, you need to, we would suggest that you take a little foray into Google AdWords. So your tactic 2 was to oh wait, Sylvie, did you want to take this one, or am I still going?
Oh, this is still you.
Still me. Okay. The tactic 2 is to reconnect with your former students. So I'm guessing you're like most people and have people that you used to teach that kind of fell off the radar. Maybe you didn't hear from them. You know, maybe they put you on hold and said, we'll resume at X time, and then you never heard back. So it's really easy, not really easy. It takes a lot of work up front, I'm not going to lie to you, to set yourself up with an email marketing program. But then it's really easy to keep up with it afterwards, right? So basically reconnecting with former students is probably a big opportunity area for you. So if you've got like 200 people you've taught over the last however many years, and you've got all their emails because you used to teach them, you know, you can consolidate your list into some sort of email client, and then you can, you know, reach out and offer a discount for restarting lessons, or offer like, you know, 50% off your first one back. That is a marketing tool. That's not underselling yourself. So decide what you are comfortable with and offer that. But this is a really good way to reestablish that connection. Tactic 3. So you've already done this because you're so ahead of it, but ensure that you have the best virtual platform for coaching. So, you know, you want to audit these things. You want to try things, make sure that you're the best in the business. Once you have done this process, you can use that again as another point of differentiation, because you're ahead of the game, right? Like a bunch of people are just going to have Zoom without all the add-ons and stuff that are competing in your market. So you can say, I use this, in my professional opinion, this is why.
And the fact that you've got a tool that you can hear people's vibrato, like that would really entice me to want to have a virtual lesson, because I'd feel like you'd really be able to hear everything properly, and that's another part of the differentiation that you can say that you offer with these tools.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Tactic 4, set up scheduling for time zones. So this is Calendly, right, that we're showing?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a good one. So if you guys have ever scheduled with us for the Female Founders Network podcast, because we interview people all over the world, we use this. So it'll sync all the time zones and make sure everybody's in line. So you're not emailing people back thinking like, oh, they're 14 hours ahead, they're 3 hours behind, whatever it is. So set up a really easy scheduling thing for yourself so that you can attract people from different cities and states, and you're not going back and forth forever to land that first lesson, because you could lose them, so this is so you can promote your services to different cities and states using Google Ads, and then as soon as they've got interest, you can book them with a tool like this.
Mm-hmm. And they just see the calendar times that you've set as available, and they book them, and then you get the notification. So it's a lot easier than going back and forth with, here's what I've got free. And trying
I have a therapist. Like I'm big into therapy, you guys. I think everybody should be in therapy, but I have a therapist in a different time zone. They're back in the States, and they use this for all of their clients because they offer virtual therapy. So, I know other people are doing it in the services industry, and it's just a really easy way to make it easier on yourself. Tactic 5, establish multi-lesson packages with the appropriate discount incentives attached to them. So we don't want you to undersell yourself, but we want to think about how you're going to market these things. So maybe you've got 10 and 20 lesson packs with tiered discount approaches for each one. So, set your prices a little higher, and then go ahead and set the discount from there, right? So if you need to set your prices X amount higher so that you can offer these discounts for packages, do that. But make sure you understand exactly how you're going to package these things, market them, use them on your website, use them on your socials, and then promote them. We would suggest promoting through a modest Facebook campaign. We can talk about that in a little bit. But I'm thinking like people who have interest in this kind of thing would be reachable on Facebook, especially if you had some really cool content that you were sharing out there with a Facebook ad to increase awareness and consideration and drive more traffic to your site.
And if you're selling lesson packs of like 10 and 20 lessons, from a cash flow perspective, you've got more cash up front for yourself, where you can then invest in stuff like Facebook ads and have that funnel, dripping for you over a longer period of time without having to put in your own money up front. So there's a few benefits to doing lesson packs, as well as that certainty of having lessons.
Okay, so tactic 6. So we want you to set aside an evergreen ad schedule and budget. And here's why. We'll show you what the percentages that you should keep to kind of for your overall marketing budget toward the end of this presentation. But basically your paid ad creation. So there are cheaper ways to do this, but basically what we don't want to do is, if we're paying for ads on Facebook and Instagram and things like that to find customers, or even TikTok, if you're allowed to use it, we don't want to have poopy creative that we're using basically, and we're putting a bunch of money behind it, and it's just like this ugly graphic, right? So we want to make sure that paying a graphic designer or enlisting a graphic design friend, maybe you guys are bartering, whatever you're doing, we want you to have good creative if you're going to have paid ads. So figure out paid ad creation in your cost. If you want to do paid ads, it's a really great way to find new customers, increase awareness, and drive that web traffic so that you can convert more people. You need to think about like your time spent project managing, things like that. So if you have a friend who does paid ad freelancing or whatever that you can barter with, or you have a virtual assistant that you want to hire to do stuff like that, you will spend time managing these ads, and you will need to spend time managing these ads if you want them to perform for you, right? Talk about that in a minute, but we really need to think about things like our promo costs for Google AdWords and Facebook, and on Facebook and Instagram. Let's see. Let's go back and forward, I think, because we started to get into money here.
Yeah, so the step 6 was to set aside a budget, and this is where we break down how you're going to spend money to make money. And I think that's another important thing, is to not be afraid to invest in yourself and invest in your marketing, because at the end of the day, it's going to come back as a return. If you do too little and too afraid to spend anything, then you're not going to reap those rewards. So we're not saying spend absolutely thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars or anything. It has to be relatable to your business, and we'll go through that, but it's definitely important to set aside a budget to execute on a successful marketing plan. So the way that we've done this is we've looked at all the tactics that we've mentioned and then identified what the time and dollar budget is. Because sometimes the time budget, if you think of your hourly rate, it might actually be worth for you to hire someone to do this for you rather than you doing it, because the time you're spending on it is the time you're not spending on teaching, singing, and voice coaching. So we have differentiated, put that as like two different things. So for example, tactic one of increasing your online presence. This will mainly be you. So looking at the best social channels and posting regular content onto them, that's around 8 hours per month, we reckon. You could do more. You could put a load of money and invest into having like a videographer film loads of stuff. Like you could really go all out. But from from a basic level, you can spend this amount of time in increasing your presence on your social media, and especially on your YouTube. We think that will be about 6 hours per month, which is we think this is more than doable, and hopefully you agree with these time estimates as well. Tactic two, reconnecting with the former students. So for this would involve setting up an account with a service like MailChimp, which is an email marketing software. You can actually use MailChimp for free for your first 2,000 contacts. So if you've got 2,000 students on your database, then you definitely don't need us running you through this. So we think this is a great way of you reaching out to these en masse. And then per month, you might spend around 6 hours per month writing your email campaigns, scheduling them and sending them out so that you can reconnect with your former students.
If you've noticed, we put like time is money, time is big, and you're already doing a lot of things. Like we said before, you had 4 jobs. So for everybody who is listening to this, like really thinking about your monthly budget for time investment and your upfront budget for time investment to set these things up is part of your budget. It's not just the money, the hard costs.
Definitely. So tactic 3 was the platforms for coaching. You said you've already done this audit, which is great. So the cost of this is whatever the cost of the platforms are. It could be $60 a month for Zoom and everything else that you need to teach successfully. Tactic 4, Calendly, the tool we mentioned to do bookings with, is actually free. So it might just be 1 hour a month where you put in your availability. You can have a pro account with them, which I believe is like $7 a month or something. That allows you to put on your logo. But for all intents and purposes, you could use that for free, just as is. And then promoting your services to different cities and states using Google Ads. That will be covered in tactic 6, which we'll come to later for the budget. So establishing the multi-lessons packages. So we've got a 2-hour brainstorm. So this is like the startup time required that Nat just mentioned. There's some stuff that will be ongoing, some stuff that will be, just time that you need to do right at the beginning, a bit of a setting it up. So yeah, maybe a 2-hour brainstorm on lesson packs, asking students as well what they would want to pay for, what's more appealing for you to be able to kind of set these up and think about what you're going to offer. And then actually adding those onto your website. We've given you 5 hours time to put these on your website. It might be less. And then promoting these through a modest Facebook campaign to increase awareness. So we've put $2,000 in here. Please bear in mind this is over the course of the year. So this isn't just like an upfront cost. But you might want to do more or less. It kind of depends on your...
So we've made some assumptions on like how much we basically based this, how much you're spending based on the idea that you'd want to make about 50 grand a year, 55, something like that from this service. Mm-hmm. So, your marketing cost should obviously be a percentage of your income, and that percentage needs to be controlled. But, for everyone listening to this, in the beginning, when you're scaling up, your marketing costs to kick off are obviously, a little bit more to kick all these things off, typically, if you can. Mm-hmm. If the budget just isn't there, thinking about bartering, thinking about who thinking about who you can help and reach out reach out to get that help is really key. But yeah, we'll show you how to break down the percentage and all of that stuff on what you should be investing back into the company in just a second.
Yeah. So tactic 6, we've given you 10 hours a month of kind of ad creation. You could either give this to a designer, or you could do this really simply in Canva, which is another free tool that you can use to put graphics together. And then
Canva's a women-owned business, everybody.
Yes. Yeah. And then time spent on managing the ads and seeing how they're doing. We've given you about 4 hours a month. This is maybe something you want to check in with, like 10 minutes a day, making sure that the ads are performing well. If they're underperforming, turning them off, trying something different, not setting and forgetting for the whole month and coming back to it and then thinking, oh no, where did all of that go? And then promo costs, we said around 1,800 a month. No, sorry, over the year.
Ooh, okay.
Why is this for? Sorry, guys. Don't know what just happened there. I think I waved my hand and it hit my mouse.
Yeah, 1,800 over the year, not over the month.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what we're thinking.
That's a little better.
Yeah.
Based on that, 55 grand a year revenue stream, that's what we would probably spend.
Yeah, which we worked out from you having an hourly lesson and wanting to book 85 hours a month. That's how we kind of got to that figure as well. But that could all change. Yeah,
that would be not that terrible. That's probably a little less than I do right now.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, this is the funny thing is when you start looking at like, okay, how many hours am I putting in? What am I getting paid for that amount of hours? Like, it's hard to do because sometimes you get answers that you don't want to see. But it's a place to start, because then you can say, okay, what should I be getting paid? How can I make this more efficient? What is my outgoing? What should I be charging?
Yeah. So here we've got the total cost of all the tactics at 4,520 for the year, 25 hours of setup time and 19 hours a month of marketing management time. So looking after all these campaigns.
So it should be less than half of 1 week.
Yeah.
The upkeep.
So here the US Small Business Administration recommends that you spend 7 to 8% of your gross revenue for marketing. So that 4,500 would make sense for an assumed revenue of 56K a year. But in the
you guys can check yourself. Sorry, Sylvie, I totally interrupted you. I'm sorry.
In the first year, you might want to spend slightly more to get more set up. If you are a new business, or you just want to go more aggressively, you could maybe spend between 10 to 12%. So thinking of what your revenue projections are going to be and then putting your budget to that accordingly. Okay, now it's going to take us through step 7.
Figure out how to track your progress. Let's go. Okay, does anyone here, nobody can answer me, but if you guys don't know what a KPI is, it's a key performance indicator. So you guys need to set your KPIs and measure your efforts against them. So what do you want to get out of each thing that you're doing? And then measure exactly how you're doing. It's okay if it's bad news. Again, it's just, you need the news. You need to understand how things are working so that you can change, learn, grow, and evolve, because nobody gets it perfectly right the first time. It's okay to Google and guess to set your numbers. Like, for instance, you set up an email marketing campaign and you know that Google says that anything above a 23% open rate is good and a 2.5% click-through rate is good, is considered good, right, in the world of email marketing campaigns. So set those as your goals, or ask a friend in marketing, like what should be my goals, right? Set those numbers and measure your performance against them. Oh, hang on, the last thing. Sorry. Can we go back to that? Like way back? Take it back. Back. Okay. So the last thing, web traffic. This is another KPI I want you guys to set. So you need a conversion rate. So if the average conversion rate to a website, conversion, what does the word conversion mean? It is turning someone who's interested in your business, converting them into an actual customer of your business. So someone who is buying something from you, right? So basically, if your average conversion rate, the people who turn into customers rate of people who visit your website overall is 3%, right? So that's an okay rate. How many people do you need to drive to your website in order to reach that 3%? Then that number starts to get real, right? So you're like, okay, if I need to pick up 3 new customers a week, I need to, basically send 100 people there every single week, looking at my website, spending time looking at packages, consuming the content on there, so that they will want to convert and want to be a customer going forward. So if you want to have 12 new long-term clients, what does that mean? Your conversion rate for a long-term client with a long relationship that buys a package from you or continuous lessons from you throughout the year might even be lower than that. It might be 1%, because those long-term clients are hard to find. So let's go forward.
You did those.
All right.
So yeah.
So here are KPIs that we set, right? So lessons per month, 85. If you have lessons per month at 85, you might make somewhere in the market of, $4,600. Again, this is with your current rates. So if you're raising those rates, you might make a bit more. Number of new students, 12. So let's secure 12 sticky new students that are going to come back for more and more lessons, buy different packages, have you coach them through their university auditions, whatever it is. 12 new students. Number of virtual sessions, 6. So what is our number? 6 per what? Sylvie, do you remember? Because I don't.
We wanted this to be, this is per month. So these are the new students you hope to get per month. And then obviously this would grow. So out of your lessons, you would have 6 virtual ones, 12 normal ones as well as the grow.
Okay. So 18 total. So because for now I'm totally virtual.
Yeah. So yeah, obviously that. But, we're hoping by 2021 you might be back in person, but who knows? Again, with these numbers, we've taken a lot of kind of just guessing and guesstimating what you would handle, what you would want. So when you review this afterwards, you can plug in your own numbers and do the full maths that is actually accurate.
It's an interesting time to be alive, you guys. So let's see, your 10 virtual lesson bookings per week. That's kind of like the KPI that we set. So we should have 10 people booking a lesson through your website per week. Your monthly
let me ask, is that an hour or is that half hour?
That is really good. I don't remember what we set that on. Was that the hour?
An hour. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought we did too. We'd have to go back and do the math and check ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So that rate might need to double if you're booking more half an hour. So you'll have to look at your traffic and your bookings, kind of.
Yeah, because more students book half hours beginning, because an hour actually is a really long time for a voice lesson.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so then monthly revenue goal, 4,600 a month. This is the goal that we set for you, and we kind of, threw it out there. You can look at what's realistic for you.
You could basically break this. If this was the revenue goal you wanted to go for, then you could just break this down into how many half-hour lessons that turns out to be. So you can basically work out all the other KPIs that we've suggested. We're more thinking these are the KPIs that we would recommend. So then you can plug in the numbers for how that works out for your business. So if you get a couple of hours, but you also have mainly half an hours, what does that look like in terms of number of students? But we would aim to have this revenue goal and try to book as many lessons as we can to reach that goal, however they kind of work out in terms of types of lesson plan.
Well, here's the other thing. You could think of, again, back to the thing of not underselling yourself. If you are getting someone ready for a university audition or a big theater audition, that might take more of your time and effort because you're maybe learning the piece that they need to sing, or really focused on certain aspects of their training. So maybe for things like that people are more willing to pay top dollar for, you are actually increasing the prices of those packages and stuff. So really think about what it's worth in the market, and think about your opportunities to maximize your profit, where it makes sense. And that might help you reach those revenue goals.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we also want to measure each of these marketing tactics. So again, here is a few kind of just filler numbers of what this would look like. But in terms of, sorry, I keep going back. What the traffic per month looks like to get the number of inquiries you need, how this actually rolls out throughout the year, and the growth that you want to achieve if you have like an annual revenue goal that you want to hit.
So once you've broken down all of these numbers and you know, like, okay, X% are going to convert, like we could use that 3% number, what number we found on Google for services businesses like yours. We'll say, okay, then to get that many students or 10 bookings a week or 20 bookings a week or whatever it is, I need X amount of visitors to my website. Okay, cool. I need X amount of inquiries. Okay, cool. So then you've actually set a goal for yourself and you can track against them.
Yeah, I kind of want to like add a disclaimer now that with many of these numbers, we've kind of just taken this like a stabbing guess.
We wanted to show you how to do it. Like it's with you and with anybody watching this. This is going to take time and effort and dedication to build out. But the good thing about it is once you've built it out once for yourself and gone through the painful process of learning, you can follow this every single year. Like in the fourth quarter of every year, you can make your plan for the next year using your same format.
Yeah.
Sometimes a KPI might simply be, have you done it or not?
Yes.
So with setting up of a platform, for example, it's a yes or a no. Yeah, these are kind of just like the numbers that we mentioned previously with like the number of bookings you might want to get. You could actually break this down more into like number of half-hour lessons you want to book. So this could actually be more than that because we base this on 1 hour. And then Nat, with tactic 6, for the KPIs, I've mentioned the difference between cost per acquisition and lifetime value, which are kind of key terms in marketing, but mean the same but different.
So your customer acquisition cost, you actually have the acronym a little off there, Sylvia, I think on accident. But basically, you want to look at all the money you've spent and then break it down by how many customers you got. And that's your customer acquisition cost. It's really simple. So if you spend $1,000 on ads over a quarter, and then you get, 75 new customers that quarter, it's 1,000 divided by 75. That was your customer acquisition cost, right? So you want to keep in mind what you're spending per customer, because when you look at the revenue of your business, you're going to take the lifetime value of that customer. So all of the money that they spend with you while they are your customer, right? And you're going to subtract your customer acquisition costs, how much you had to spend in ads in order to acquire them as a customer. And that's really how profitable you've been from that student, right? So you need to keep these things in mind. You guys do not need to become like experts in, paid ad management or any of this stuff, but these are good things to look at if you want to make sure that your business continues to be profitable, that you are making more from your students than you're spending acquiring them, right? Like that's where we've got to be. We've got to be in a place where that ratio makes sense for us.
Yeah, and you might not always make money on the first lesson, but if they've booked 10 with you, that's where you make your money, and that's why lifetime value is really important to look at. And it's why we wanted to mention that here.
And every business in the world is looking at this, right? So if you're selling a product and you're advertising that product and you're putting money into marketing it and developing it and adding features, you have a certain cost for making and marketing that product, right? And if you don't make more from selling that product than you do from making and marketing that product, well, then you have a business go belly up. So we need to think of ourselves as businesses. It's really hard to do when we're freelancers, but we really need to look at these numbers and kind of give ourselves a gut check there.
Mm-hmm. So we're now actually on to step 8, the final one, which is to write your executive summary. And this is looking back at the plan of all the points that we've previously covered, step 1 to 7, and then writing the summary to make sure that we're focused on what these are. So in the coming year, Espiritu will cultivate lasting customer relationships, increase
Oh man.
Keep skipping with my mouth. Increasing monthly sales and returning students on both digital platforms and in real life. Go for it, Jessie. So we hope that you found that helpful, Jessie, in some way, and that everyone watching can get something from this as well. We'll make this presentation available to you so that you can kind of go through this 8 steps in your own time, plug in your own numbers that are more accurate, and use it as a basis. But do you feel like this is what you were looking for when you did the reach out, or is there anything else?
Yes. Yeah, no, I think I'm gonna have to sit down when I have, you know, an hour or two and really sit down and look through it again, with like pen and paper and like go through and be detailed with everything. But I think the details that you guys laid out are a good starting point for me. So
awesome, that's great. That's what we wanted to do, is just kind of get you on the right track so that you can be thinking about the right ways to market your business successfully and grow your business throughout the rest of this year and next, and the future as well. So thank you very much for letting us use you as a guinea pig.
oh, thanks for letting me be a guinea pig.
An joy. If you please reach out to us at any time. I promise not to ask you for any singing lessons, and
Feel free to. Literally, I like, this is the thing I am very passionate in life because seriously, if I weren't, I don't think I could do this during a pandemic. I would be, it's a lot.
Yeah.
So,
and if any of you guys are better singers than me and want to hire Jessie, you guys know where to find her.
yes.
Absolutely. Thank you for watching. And if you've got any questions on the market plan, then please leave a comment and we'll get back to you. Nat and I are always in the group, and Jess, we're so happy to have you in the group as well, and hope you're enjoying it. So thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye, guys. So good to see you.
Bye.